Paul, the sun's shining where you are. You're the south of France. And I know that Theo and Oliver, they're joining from South Africa. Viara's from Dubai. So it's great. We've got a nice mix of people from all over the world. Who here has trained in NLP? Put your hand up. Okay, I know some of you are trained in NLP and some of you haven't. That's absolutely okay. And I know some of you are training in NLP at the moment. And what this has all been set up, the NLP Edge has been running in different forms. It ran as a lunchtime session, and then we moved it to this time for almost a year now. And I can't believe it's almost a year already. And I also run the NLP Business Circle Club, and that's for people who are who've got an interest. You don't have to be NLP trained to join the club, but you need to have an interest in NLP and developing yourself in NLP. NLP is neuro linguistic programming. It's the study of excellence, and it's also the methodology of how we create behavior. So when we're working with NLP, we're finding out that how people do something, and then we can work with breaking that down and help them change. I've been working with NLP specifically for business and coaching for over 35 years now. And all the examples that I give in this session are all some of the examples that I'm using in business. And we take the NLP. Today we're working with time. It's time management session. But I'm going to show you my time distortion technique. Now, I'm delighted that Paul's here because, Paul, you have fed back this week about how you've been using this particular technique and you found it really useful. I've been teaching this technique for over 20 years. It is so simple, but so effective because when I do a lot of corporate training, I do a lot of corporate coaching. Every single person I have ever worked with who has a problem with time are telling themselves they don't have enough time. And we know that all behaviour comes from a thought. And I had a fabulous example of that today. I was in the gym and we're working between a bike and a rower and all sorts of things. And we had to do a little bit of running. I'm not really a runner. And there's a certain part, the floor was a bit bumpy. And I said to myself, I'm going to move to another part so I don't fall. Guess what happened? 2 seconds later, I was bouncing my nose off the floor. So be careful what you say to yourself. And the first thing I said, I've just told myself not to fall. So there you go. It's quite fascinating how that happens so quickly. So we've got Sean coming in. We've got, let me see who else. Vinny's joining us. Fantastic. Hello, Sean. Hello, Vinny. And I know Ciara's arrived. Angela, fabulous. Okay, and Miriam, thank you. That's great to see you, Miriam. Managing your time effectively. Use time or lose it. If I gave you $86,400 and told you you had to spend that every single day, you had to spend it all, would you be able to do that? Every day. Every day in your bank account, there's another $86,400 comes in and you have to spend it. Who would be able to spend that consistently every day? It would become difficult. It would really be, if it just kept coming in like that, it would become really, yeah, you could spend it at the beginning. But then there'd be a point, there'd be an excess. Guess what? You've got 86,400 seconds every single day. Okay? And most of us waste it. So you've got to invest time. You've got to invest time. Time must be invested to save time in the future. And what we mean by investing time is you've got to sometimes take time out, take a stand back to say, where is my time going? Now, we've got a time management, the art of time management. We've got that as a course that you can find on my website. But really, people who just keep going and going and going and going, you're not going to get anywhere. You've got to stop and you've got to think about things. So we're going to look at some things today, like things like procrastination. But before that, I wanted to teach you my time distortion technique. Now, time distortion it's quite fascinating. When we talk about this at first, people think it's a bit woo. It's not a bit woo. Who here has stood in a queue or been in a really boring meeting and you just keep looking at the clock or looking at the watch and it's going, dip, dip, dip. Time almost stands still. Put your hand up if you've experienced that. Okay. Who has ever had a day and go, oh, that can't be 3 o'clock. Where's the time gone? Yeah. Okay. So think about it. Time is man-made. Time is completely man-made. Time, actually, if you look into history, in the UK, we only had unified time when the railways came in. And they had to look at railway timetables.
I remember the timetables. The
yes.
clocks were different all across the country.
All over. Everything was at different times. So that's something that is brand new for us all to be working to similar times. So your perception of time is what we're working with here. Who remembers how long summer holidays were when you were a kid? Yeah. Remember a summer holiday, 6 weeks or 8 weeks? It went on forever. Now, you were just there forever and ever. Now you can go on holiday and everything goes so fast. I use this 2 ways. I use this to get more time, and I also use it to speed up time. I did it a couple of weeks ago. I was on a train journey for 4.5 hours, got on the train, said this journey will go faster than I could believe possible. And actually, I used to travel from London to Dubai every 6 weeks. And I used to make that journey go like that. I did it every single time. I used to speed up the journey. The journey didn't get any faster. But think of a child sitting in a car. Are we there yet? Are we there yet? No, we're not there yet, because you keep focusing on the time going slowly. All you do, and I want you to write this down. If you've never done this before, please write this down. Not this part here, every person I've worked with to help manage the time, one thing in common, they've been telling themselves you have no time. So instead of telling yourself I have no time, change this and write this down. I have all the time in the world, and then within the time I have. That's the important part. I have all the time in the world within the time I have to complete this report easily. Now, that's the structure of it. Let me give you the specific structure. I have all the time in the world within the next 2 hours to complete this report easily. I have all the time in the world within the next 20 minutes to make all my phone calls. I have all the time in the world within the next 3 hours to complete my emails. I have all the time in the world within the next 4 hours to prepare for my presentation. And the important thing is you put, I have all the time within the time I have. If you say I have all the time in the world, nothing's going to happen, because I've done that. I've tested it. Nothing happens. But if you say I have all the time in the world and give yourself a specific time, there's something called Parkinson's law that I'll talk about in a moment. I have all the time within the next hour to finish this report. Parkinson's law states that the work will expand to fill the time allotted for its completion. In other words, if you have an hour to finish a report, it will take an hour. If you have a day to complete a report, you will take the time given. We know in business, some of the most efficient people with their time in business are new mums or mums with kids at school. It's as simple as that. You cannot leave us kids. I'm sorry, I'm doing a report. My work's gone over. I can't leave you standing there. It's impossible. So anyone, and if you want, there's another saying we have, if you want to get something done, give it to a busy person. And I know from myself at the moment, I'm preparing we're finishing the NLP Mastery for Business and Coaching online training. I'm getting that finished at the moment. So I'm constantly working on that, plus delivering the dual certification. I'm doing a lot just now, but I'm getting so much done because I'm busy. So it's really interesting to look at your energy and how you can get things moving. So I wanted to cover procrastination tonight in this. Procrastination means delaying a task or even several tasks that should be a priority. The ability to overcome procrastination and tackle the important actions that have the biggest positive impact on your life is the hallmark of the most successful people out there. The most successful people, they do not procrastinate. And what we mean by procrastinate, you keep putting things off and putting things off. Who has kept putting something off, and then when they eventually do it, they can't believe how quickly they got it done? Mm-hmm. Put your hand up, yeah. And what happens when you're procrastinating about something? It sits here like an annoyance in your brain. It can sit here, it can sit there, it can sit wherever in your brain. But it's like this annoyance that is just niggling away at you. And it stops you focusing on other things. So it's much easier to get things done and out the way. So the reasons that we procrastinate: fear of the task. Do I not know what I'm doing? But being frightened about it. Task seems overwhelming. You don't like the task, or it's boring. I don't want to do that. It's boring. No clear deadline. That's the one that works for me. If I haven't got a clear deadline, I just don't get it done. I don't tend to, no, I'm not thinking about it so much, but I tend not to get it done. Inadequate resources available. Think about what happens if your printer runs out of ink, or you run out of paper, or you run out. Just sometimes you've just not got the resources there to get something done. You don't know where to begin. Who said that? Where do I begin here? Begin anywhere. If you don't know where to begin, just get started. Do a list of what you have to do. That will get you started. What have I to do? If you break down what this is, and then if you put a list there, you can then start prioritizing. You put the list. No passion for doing the work. Doesn't excite me. Now, we know I do a lot of work with business, and I know most people here, you're either in business or you're working in coaching with business. There's a lot of people in business don't want to do something because they just don't enjoy it. There's a lot of stuff we've got to do that we don't enjoy. I don't enjoy doing my accounts. I hate it. If I don't do my accounts, I'm in trouble. So sometimes you've got to try and almost reframe something. If you got no passion for it, you don't have to be passionate about everything. You've got to look at the value of getting that done. And then fear of failure or fear of success. The number of people I work with who are setting up a business, and they're frightened about putting out for a workshop, start advertising or start to let people know. What if too many people turn up? And I keep saying, if you can get too many people to turn up, let me know about it, because I want to know the secret of your success. If you get too many people turn up, get booked, you just create another date. But also, people don't like you being successful. You know that. Mm-hmm. In a lot of cases. There's some societies where they champion success. There's a lot of societies they don't champion success. Here's some 8 tips for overcoming procrastination. 1, delete it. 2, delegate it. Now, I don't give handouts here, so you can take photographs of this. In fact, if you want, let me just go back. You can take a photograph, that last one, if you want. Sorry, I forgot to mention that to those of you that are new here. You can do a screenshot or a photograph. Okay, so 1 is delete it. Especially people that have a to-do list and they keep bringing the same thing onto the to-do list every day and never do it. Just delete it. There are certain things that you don't actually have to. Your head won't fall off if you don't do it. And sometimes we forget to prioritize. So deleting it is an option. It's very much an option when we're talking about it. Delegate. Who can you give this to? Who can you ask to help you? Who can you actually say, could you do this for me? Help. Do it now. Just get started. You know that feeling of it. Now, who knows how they motivate themselves? Put your hand up if you know how you motivate yourself. If you don't know, if you're NLP trained and you don't know how you motivate yourself, the challenge is to find out your motivation strategy. Find out how you get yourself motivated, because getting yourself motivated is not to get things done you enjoy doing. Motivation helps you do things that you don't like doing. It's the thing that pushes you when you don't want to do something. Ask for advice or ask for help. Ask for some, how should I approach this? I've got this to do. Could you give me some advice of the best way to do this? You'd be amazed how willing people are if you just ask advice. People are very willing to share their advice and help you. Chop it up. What do I mean by chop it up? Sometimes it's called the salami technique. Just chunk it into portions. Okay, how can I break this down? How can I break this down into, how do you write a book? You write a book, you write a chapter at a time. How do you write a chapter? A paragraph at a time. How do you write a paragraph? You start with a sentence. So you've got to break things down into manageable amounts. And sometimes I know I'm a bit guilty of this one. I don't like using that word, but I'm guilty. In fact, I don't know. I'm not guilty at all. I don't believe in guilt. One of the things that I will do, though, is I tend to, when I get started in something, I tend to push to try and get it finished. And I have pushed myself to exhaustion so many times by doing that. I'm learning now to break things down and break things down into manageable chunks and do it in such a way that I can leave something and I know exactly where to go back to. But one thing you've got to be careful about is, are you aware when you go into a thread of thoughts, it can take between 4 or 5 hours to get back into that thread if you're interrupted, especially if you're in a sort of creative, organizing, producing type of thread. If you get interrupted, then that can take you hours to get back to. But if you interrupt yourself, so sometimes if there's things going on, it's really interesting to go, okay, let me stop at a bit that almost at the end of a chapter. I'll keep going till this bit and then I'll stop then. Rather than doing the whole thing, but rather than just saying, I'll stop now, you can't just stop in the middle of a sentence or stop in the middle of something. See if you can find natural breakpoints. And natural breakpoints will make it much easier to get back into it again, because a lot of procrastination happens when we lose our thread with something and then we struggle to get back into it. And then have clear deadlines. Have very clear deadlines of what has to be done by when. And deadlines, we do this a lot when we're working with NLP. We work with well-formed outcomes. And we know once you're absolutely clear on what something will look, sound, and feel like when it's finished, then that will help you get started and get on with it. Because the procrastination part is just you're not getting started. Give yourself a reward. Now, a reward does not have to be a monetary reward. It doesn't have to be a food award. It doesn't have to be an alcohol reward. It can be going for a walk. It can be having some time in the fresh air. It can just be stopping and doing something I don't have to do anything. I'm just taking a break. What I like to do, I like to walk out someplace and maybe go to a cafe and have a coffee. Just a change of scene, getting out, moving about, and that's okay. So that's my reward. And I tell myself, I actually say to myself, well done. Well done, you, because you've done that. So make sure you give yourself some sort of reward. Don't wait for other people to do it. And then remove distractions. Turn off your phone and put it face down. Turn off your email notifications. The number of people that are getting interrupted by email notifications that are taking them away from the focus. Okay. And then what can you do in 5 minutes? Again, sorry, does anyone want to take a screenshot of that? That's the 8 points of that. If you want to take a screenshot or a photograph, please do. And then another way to gain time is think about waiting to go into a meeting. Think about traveling, being on a train, sitting at an airport, waiting for a lift, all these different things. There's lots of little chunks of 5 minutes that we've got. So you can return an email in 5 minutes. You can reply to an email. You can make an appointment. You can leave a voicemail message. You can write a page of text. Page of text can be done in 5 minutes. You can create an agenda for a meeting. And rather than just creating an agenda, you could create the expectation or outcome for a meeting. You could write a thank you note. especially if you've got handwritten. Those of you who lead people, one of the most, oh, there you go. I
It's
love
a
it,
fountain
Richard.
pen.
It's got a thank you pen. Okay. Think about receiving a written cards from someone, especially in today's day and age just now. It's beautiful to write, to have a little supply of nice cards and write a thank you note. Ask a colleague a question you need the answer to. Read a short message. Clarify something you're unclear about. Go and check in the internet something you're unclear about and check what it is. Watch a short training tips video. There's loads of training videos out there. Most of the training courses that I do, apart from the NLP mastery, because that's a master training, but a lot of my short ones, they're 2, 3, 4, 5 minute videos. That's all you need. And there's so much you can learn in that amount of time. And then we'll finish up the parental principle, and then I'll put you into breakout rooms just for a few minutes to have a chat. Then I'll let you know about the NLP Business Circle Club. So the parental principle is the 80-20 rule. Only 20% of those things you spend your time on doing produces 80% of the results you want to achieve. This has been proven time and time and time again. We know in any organisation, it's 20% of the staff that bring in the income for an organisation. We know that there's just a whole list of all the different things that happen. The secret is to identify the key 20% activities that are the most effective, producing 80% of the results, and make sure you prioritise these activities. When I'm working with my coaching clients that maybe have their own business, and we're looking to help them with time management, I will ask them, is what you're doing working towards bringing in your income? If it's no, you haven't got a business. So what is, always been asking yourself, so what I'm doing right now, what is that doing to take me towards my goal, whatever your goal is? It could be a company. I worked in sales for 25 years. I used to ask myself, is what I'm doing just now contributing to my target? If it wasn't contributing to my target, I would go into extra time. I always set myself 103% of my expected target, my own target. I didn't go 105, 110. I always set myself 103%. I worked for Xerox, I worked for Yellow Pages. Yellow Pages, we were selling 11 orders a day. I never missed a target once. Yeah. And it was because I kept absolutely focused on what I wanted to achieve. So if you keep focused, and that way you can enjoy the time you have when things, because remember, you have all the time in the world within the time you have to enjoy a 5-minute break. You can use it in that way as well. Okay, so I'm going to put some breakout rooms together. Any feedback or any questions anyone wants to share just now before we go into the rooms? You can come on to, so what, let's see, what have you got from that first of all? Let's get a couple of you just to tell me what you've got from that. Richard, what did you get from that?
At the beginning, it reminded me of a saying, if you're skiing downhill and you have to go through the trees, don't think about the trees because you're going to hit them. So focus on the piste, on the trail, the skiing, right?
Yeah.
So,
don't think about a tree, go straight into a tree. Yeah.
exactly. And it's what you think about. Your energy goes where your thoughts are, right? So
Yeah.
if you're thinking there's no time, or there's thinking I don't know how to do this or whatever, it's all negative. So nothing really great ever happens through negativity.
Fantastic. Fantastic. So
I
think about what you want to achieve rather than what you don't want to achieve. Yeah.
And I would add just a technical thing, the Pomodoro technique. I don't know if you're familiar with that.
Yeah.
To get things done.
And that one, if you want to just share that with everyone.
It comes from Italian for tomato. And the guy who came up with the idea, I think, took a kitchen timer, for boiling eggs or cooking tomatoes in Italy. You put it on for a certain amount of time, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, whatever you've given yourself to do that task, and you do nothing else. You don't even get up and go to the loo, or you don't answer the phone. You're just totally focused until that timer goes off. And then you can set it again if you want to keep going, or anyway, it just helps focus.
Okay, we used to use that with Yellow Pages on creating appointments. Sometimes we would go on and we wouldn't be wanting to talk to someone, we would just be wanting to make an appointment to talk to them. And we would set up a timer, and a bell would go off after about, we'd do it for 20 minutes. And you didn't come off the phone for 20, just constant 20 minutes. And you knew you had to talk to as many people as you could in that time. And again, that works with Parkinson's law. You work towards the time you've got. Okay, thank you for that. So let me open all the rooms. You're just going into the room. Let me see, 28. We're going in for 7 minutes tonight. And just to have a wee chat with each other, maybe share some of the things that you use for time management, or maybe talk about something that you've learned from here. You were all chatting and you were all looking at different ways, getting to know each other. Because that's what the breakout rooms are all about, is for everybody just to get to know each other. You're looking to further develop your NLP skills for business and coaching. Now, it doesn't matter actually if you're NLP trained. If you've got an interest in NLP, and if you know about NLP and you want to learn about it, we've got the masterclass, the NLP Business Circle Club. It's an online club that's been running for coming up for 4 years. No, 3 years. 3 years has been running. It will be 4 years at the end of this year. We do, sorry, I haven't changed that yet. We do two-hour live masterclasses, not 2 3-hour, 2-hour live masterclasses every month on the second Tuesday of the month from 12 o'clock till 2 o'clock UK time, and on the fourth Thursday from 7 o'clock to 9 o'clock in the evening UK time. Live practice and coaching sessions, our live practice sessions sometimes go on for over an hour. So it's a chance of mastering your NLP skills. You've got all the video, audio recordings and workbook archives since 2020, since the end of 2020. You've also got access to the VIP NLP Business Circle Club community, and a lot of our members are starting to use that community now to get in touch with each other and to practice with each other. Because you can go on to that either through message, but you can also go on to video calls with each other. So I've started to notice a few people are just contacting other members and saying, can I practice with you? So it's your space to do what you want with it. There's a 30%, when you're a member, you get a 30% members discount on all courses and coaching, including all my certificated coaching courses. So if anyone's considering coming on to training, it's worth joining up onto the club and you get your 30%. Now, just so you know, there's no contract with this, so you can cancel at any time. I don't believe in contracting everyone in. So normally it's $97 a month, and we've got an offer on now for $47 a month. That should be, yeah, there you go, $47 a month. And let me just share that. So what you're getting there is you get live coaching from me. Those of you who've been on there are members. They tend to stay members because they get so much for that. And as I say, anyone who's got an interest in NLP is very welcome. Okay, so let's just get a little bit of feedback before we finish. If I can ask, let me see, Sean, can I just get a little bit of feedback from you? You're coming from, where is it you are again?
I'm down in sunny Guatemala.
Guatemala, that's right. I knew it was someplace wonderful and exotic. So what did you get from that there?
One thing I always get from breakout rooms, and I really appreciate I think this is my third call that I've been able to join. And I always learn something from you. So I always appreciate that and the connections. And I hope to join the Business Circle Club soon.
I think I could connect with some of the points that you actually specified, the 80-20 rule.
Yes.
And that you should not break your work and I have that habit of writing a review paper, and after around half an hour, I will be browsing on something else, and also I think we should not move away from the work.
We have got 90-minute focus windows. Are you aware of that? Circadian rhythms go in 90-minute cycles. And when we're talking about the 90-minute cycle, after 90 minutes, you normally need about 10 minutes break. But we have got the ability to really focus for a good 90 minutes. So sometimes you've just got to set okay, I'm focusing for this time. I'm going to focus this, then you can have the break after that. And you've got to sort of ask yourself, what's causing me to bounce away from something? Yeah, you don't have to answer that. It's always good just to ask yourself, what's causing me to do that? Okay, Lisa, welcome. You're new here tonight. What have you got from today? Thank you. What have you got from coming along here?
My head is bursting. I feel a little bit like a complete novice. Obviously, this is my first time of meeting you and joining you.
Yeah.
It's been great. I've loved it. I'm learning more about, so I've been in the NHS for 25 years. So I run a team in the NHS as a nurse.
Yeah.
So actually what I've considered from what's been said tonight is about how much of this I need to apply to myself to help myself as a starting point.
Yes.
And I made lots of notes, but one of them, begin anywhere. I like that. Just begin anywhere.
Just get started. Yeah.
Yeah. And the setting of the timer I like as well. Yeah, I've taken a lot away initially to develop myself, that to apply to myself initially, but then bigger picture of so much to learn for me to take into my workplace and my team.
Well, we've done a lot of training. If you want, I've got an audit that I can send out. I actually put about 40 managers from the NHS through the NLP Business Practitioner.
Amazing.
And there's so much can be done with this in a business, especially a business and clinical setting. But I can send you some details of that, just so you get to see some of the things we cover. Now, next week, we're here every Wednesday, Lisa, and this is a free session that's on every Wednesday. And next week, it's imposter syndrome. So we'll be covering imposter syndrome, the one that everyone talks about having. And I always say, well, who's diagnosed you with imposter syndrome? Okay, so I'm going to wrap up there. If anyone wants to chat, I'll have the recording off. I'm here for a little while, and see you next week. And so give yourself a big round of applause. Yeah, thank you very much, and see you soon.